morning, Miss Carla. My name is Richard de la Cruz, and together with my group, are going to speak about teaching methods. We are going to mention four methods for teaching reading and some additional tips for teachers.
Four methods of teaching reading. Number 1. The phonic method. This is so well known and one of the best methods of teaching reading. In this method, children are taught the alphabet first. And learning the alphabet involves learning not only the names of the letters, but also the sound they make. Children can blend 2 or 3 letters together to make words only when they have learned letter sound. Among the methods of teaching reading, the phonic method is thought to be the most effective. To apply the method properly, can you buy your child phonologically written book that use regular and interesting words? You should always try to keep the process short and entertaining because children often find it boring to learn song and they blends. It often becomes boring then children focus too much and playing the song. They and do not learning the meaning of the words. To keep enthusiasm and make the learning process interesting, make sure you always explain the meaning of the word. To avoid boredom, you can consider teaching one letter a day. If your child needs 3 or 4 days to make one letter, do not be disheartened. The key is to keep going. Children are naturally curious. They will try to please you and it will gradually do well. The process learning may be slow in the beginning, but gradually it becomes automatic and more fluent. Although the phonic method is one of the most effective methods of teaching reading, you still need to teach your child to memorize some words because there are some words that are not spelled the way they sound. That was en más y that corta. Hasta ahí. Remember, the phonic method is one of the best methods of teaching, and if you apply it well, your child will learn to read basic word or sentence within a very short time. This method basically helps a learner learn how break words down into sound. It's effective because in the English languages, to represent the word in the page, we unit translate sound into letters and letters combination. Therefore, reading requires one's ability to decode words into sound. The phonic method, unlike some other methods in teaching reading, is all about the art of breaking down words and knowing the sound they represent.
I am Jacan Verbal Torrejo. The language experience approach. Another month, the language experience method us learning of word Hilda rate. Unlike other method of the technique rate. This method is grown in different words. Children utter this with method. This method very haste because they learn words that are a writing family, which the approach involves sharp experience, such common school experience as schools, and every happy. I other word. Its have experience are reflect draw strong the text with through the language experience approach. This approach is more effective with it is combined with other methods of technique range in the primary years of short. It, it is important to understand the difference between speak and with language. This this month helps learners understand the difference child as double their language. Its skill beats interacting with their parents or teacher. The method also schools children the double they observe and read over their experience. The language experience approach were in difference why from other methods tiny rating because this met, method integrates the four basic aspects of the learning language strong the development of which is based on learn in first and experience due to this month not with what your child wills must they make sense with those work when your children with a description understand the picture the rate the description allow it will help your child better understand what he it with this approach super super child be vocabulary ground and concept develop using oral language and personal experience. This method also offers children opportunities for meaningful read and writing activity.
The whole word approach, often referred to as load and say method. The whole word approach focuses on a learner ability to recognize whole words. Show your child a word, sound the word, and ask him to repeat the whole word. You can use flashcard to hit your child read. It is better to use flashcard with pictures because picture will help your child understand the meaning of the words. This method is also known as sight reading. It is based on the concept that when children are exposed to a certain word for a long time, they can eventually sight read the words. It's especially useful when teaching a toddler to read, because children this young may not be ready for phonics instruction. This method the student try to recognize whole words in the reading for context. It's important to make this method effective. Start with familiar word and then move on to short sentences.
The content supports method. One of the least discussed methods of teaching reading. It's not less effective than other methods. Catch the attention of the learner. It uses the associative connection. Most educators believe that this method works because it holds a learner's attention. Once children have passed their early reading stage, parents often have difficulty finding good reading material for the children. The key is to provide them with interesting reading material so that they can read for pleasure. When children discover pleasure in reading, they read more and learn more. When children discover pleasure in reading, they read more and learn more. If they can relate to the content they reading, they read with enthusiasm. There are books, but especially have been reading to support this method. These books have long as well as short sentences that you can read to your child.
When we talk about teaching reading, we must keep in mind that our goal is to teach a child or a student to read. Having this in mind, it's the teacher who has to decide which method needs to use to achieve the goal, because the four methods are effective. Now, I'm going to give you 5 tips, especially useful if you are a teacher. Number 1. Read to your student regularly. Read to your student on a regular basis. Read aloud and make sure your child participates in reading with you. Run your child's fingers along the text. Develop a routine and make reading fun. Make sure that you read to your child at the same time every day. Regularity is of great importance. Tip number 2. Choose material your students find interesting. Failure to choose your students' favorite reading material will lead to disappointment, even if you use all the methods of teaching reading. It's important to find out what the child likes the most and choose the material related to the child's preferences. If we use a book that has related vocabulary, it will boost our child's motivation. Children learn more when they can relate to what they are reading. Tip 3. Talk about what you read and see. The more you talk to the child, the more he or she is likely to develop a strong vocabulary. The child's book can spur the conversation between you and the child. You can also talk about a picture in that book. Conversation can make the methods of teaching reading more effective. To keep a record of the new words, keeping a journal is a great idea. Words that are connected to the story are easier to remember. Tip 4. Do not always read the same books. The child will gradually develop his or her own reading ability. So we may need to increase the challenge of the books. We can start with a book that has one word in each page, then move on to long sentences, then we can end to a book with paragraphs. But remember, do not choose a book that has unfamiliar words. It's a great idea to choose challenging books, but not too challenging. Remember that our purpose is to teach the child to read and make them enjoy reading. Tip 5. Do not compare your students with others. It's important to let our students to learn at their own pace.